So you recently opened in Tuck Everlasting and you play Mae Tuck. Congratulations. The show has been in progress for about 6 years, I believe. How did you get involved with the production?
Well, I think I go back maybe even 7 years. The first staged reading that they did of it, maybe it wasn't even staged. I think we were just sitting around the table reading the script and singing the music. Casey Nicola just invited me to play the part, and I was happy to do it. I mean, that's kind of how new musicals work these days. You have to get asked to do a reading, and then hopefully the next reading and the workshop and the lab and whatever else follows the out of town. But you have no guarantees along the way. So it just started with a phone call from Casey, and I had always wanted to work with him, so I grabbed the chance, and here we are 7 years later.
Well, that's awesome, because I know you've done a few shows in between that, so this was in the works for a while, so that's awesome that you're doing this now. So what makes Mae's character so special to you and to the show, and how has the character impacted you personally and like professionally? Because I know a lot of actors are affected by the characters that they play, so I was wondering if Mae has affected you in any way.
I think what I really like about her is her warmth, her kind of maternal energy. I mean, so much of what I do on stage is relating to Andrew and Bob, who play my sons, and then also Sarah, who plays Winnie, as a mother figure. And I think the way she's written, it's just, she's very open-hearted. She's really a caring person, and it's nice to play those kind of characters. I mean, it's always fun to play someone who's sort of evil and has a little edge to them. But when you get a character like this that's kind of warm and fuzzy, it's also really nice because it makes you appreciate what the role those people play in life is. I mean, I think she's got a really nice energy in the show. And there's also the nice storyline with Angus, the husband, and how they kind of work on their marriage throughout the show, and as a result of meeting this little girl. So that's a really nice kind of energy to have too, sort of reconciliation.
Yeah. And you said, so Mae is a motherly figure, and we know Sarah is one of the people in the cast who is making her Broadway debut, and you as a Broadway vet, have you given her any advice as to like being on Broadway and that as like a motherly figure?
I've tried a little bit. When we were in Atlanta, that was when I first met Sarah. She played the part in the out-of-town production when we did it last year, and she and I shared a dressing room. So there were a lot of times where, she would get nervous about something or confused about something, and I was sitting in the dressing room with her every night, so I got to really talk to her and get to know her and hopefully help her through some of those moments. But she's such a pro now, I don't know if she needs my advice anymore. She's really stepped up. It's a lot to ask of an 11-year-old to be the leading lady of a big Broadway musical, but she's done such a great job, and she really is so charming and charismatic, and she sounds so beautiful. She just has a lovely voice, and she's a great musician, so I don't think she needs my advice anymore.
Now,
she's all set.
Yeah. Now, I saw the show in previews, and the cast is extremely talented, and you get to work with them every night. Do you have a favorite onstage moment during the show? Because I know it's such a huge production, and there's just so much going on, and it's so amazing. So I was wondering if you have a favorite moment throughout the production.
There are lots of moments that I enjoy. It changes, night to night. I really like the relationships that the little nuclear family of the Tucks has. So I really enjoy playing the scenes with Bob and Andrew and Michael.
Mm-hmm.
Those are really, because I like the way they're written. I like the feeling that it's a real family and that they have dysfunction and also a lot of love between them. That feels very real to me. And I love playing with Sarah. I mean, we have that scene in the attic that's really sweet where I sing Most Beautiful Day. So that's a highlight for me too.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned before about the out-of-town tryouts prior to coming to Broadway, and you've been part of quite a few with Finding Neverland and Tuck Everlasting. What are some of the positive and negatives, do you think, about doing the pre-Broadway tryouts?
Well, the positives are that, you get to work on a piece without being in front of New York critics and sort of being out of the limelight a little bit, so that you can have time to perfect the show a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
The downside is you don't make any money. You go. Usually, what happens is you go to a small regional theater and you don't get paid very much.
Yeah.
And the other downside is that you have no guarantee usually that if the show moves to Broadway that you'll be going with it.
Mm-hmm.
So you're really taking a big chance by investing your work and your time and being away from your family and everything for however many months that is on the hope that you'll be taken along if the show moves into New York. So for these last two shows that I've done, it's worked out, but it doesn't always. Sometimes you get replaced, or lots of times the show doesn't come into New York at all. And you put in all that time and it doesn't happen. There's so many different scenarios, but I've been lucky with these last two for sure.
Yeah. Now, actors dream of originating roles, and you've been lucky enough to originate more roles than you've done replacements or been in a revival. Is originating a role a personal preference, or would you prefer to go into a revival? What's your preference on that, or your thoughts? Because you've done a ton of shows, so.
I like them both. I really do. The great thing about originating something is you get to sort of put your stamp on it, and whenever people think of that show or listen to the cast album, they'll associate you with that, and that's a real honor.
Mm-hmm.
The nice thing about replacing or doing a revival is that most of the hard work has been done already, and you can just kind of come in and have fun with it, I've done that a bunch of times, like when I replaced in Mamma Mia, I replaced in Sister Act, I replaced in Urinetown, and you just, it's all figured out, and you know where the laughs are, and you know how to, the costume changes are all figured out. You don't have to do any of that kind of preliminary work. You just kind of step into it and start having a good time in front of the audience. So I like them both. I enjoy the fact that I get to do them both, over the course of my career. Yeah.
And speaking of your career, you've done about 14 Broadway shows, I believe, Tuck being the 14th, I think.
14th.
Yeah. Is there a role that you've done that you identify with the most, or a few roles that you can pick out that really fit your personality and your values and all of that?
Wow.
I know it's a tough one.
Well, I mean, no, I first thought you were going to ask me, is there a role that, was the most satisfying to play, or the most fun, or whatever.
I mean, if that's on the top of your mind, then you're welcome to say that one as well.
Well, when I think about the most sort of artistically satisfying, the one that comes to mind is Parade, because it's the first time, you were just asking about creating a role, and it is a very special experience, and that was the very first time I got to do that.
Yeah.
starting with the readings and going out of town and doing the whole thing. So that was a really amazing experience. And the score is so beautiful, and the story is so wonderful. So that has a really special place in my heart for lots of different reasons. But I don't know that I would say that character is the closest to the real life me, if that's your question. I think that would probably be more like the Mamma Mia character, maybe. I mean, even though I'm, I didn't move to a Greek island and raise a child on my own, but there's something about her kind of work ethic and her strength and her kind of inner sort of turmoil that I related to a lot.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Okay. Yeah, Donna's a strong character. So, I mean, that's a perfectly good example.
And she's really stubborn, and like she doesn't see her own flaws, and she's very human that way. I think I really related to that character.
Yeah. Now this is a sort of curveball, but you've discussed how wigs and hairstyles are an important part of the roles that you play. Now, why is that important to you, and has it ever stopped you from taking a role if you've known like the hair or the wig like prior to?
I don't think it's ever stopped me from taking a role, but I definitely will put my 2 cents in. Like if somebody, like even with this show that I'm doing right now, when we did the show out of town, I had a very different hairstyle and different hair color. The wig was completely different. So I spoke with our designer, who I love, and we sort of reworked it for the Broadway production because I wasn't really thrilled with it, and I just wanted it to be something different, and he was very amenable to that. So it certainly wouldn't have made me walk away from the job, but I definitely made my preferences known and hoped for the best. It's interesting that you say, why is that so important to me? I'm not sure how that started, but I know even in real life, I've always been a big, I've been really interested in hair and what kind of impression that makes. My mom was a hairdresser. Maybe that has something to do with it. She didn't really work, like she kind of gave it up before I really knew anything about it, but I definitely learned a lot from her. She used to give haircuts in the kitchen and give me perms and give me highlights and whatever I needed. So I think I got a lot of love for hair from her, and maybe it just sort of permeated everything. I don't know. I just feel like it really defines a time period. It really talks to like whether the person is neat or messy or uptight or free-spirited. Like you can tell so much of a story through someone's hair. I don't know why I feel that way.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So final 2 questions. What's the most rewarding aspect about performing on Broadway?
I guess being able to tell a story that really has an impact on people. I come out of the stage door here at the Broadhurst, and people will say that they were moved to tears and that they were touched, and that this is an evening they won't forget. And that's a real privilege to be able to perform a story every night that has that kind of effect on people. And I think that's what I look for in choosing, the shows that I get involved with. I think I love great music, and I love, flashy costumes and all that, but I think what really appeals to me is a great story that's going to be touching.
Yeah. When I saw it, I was so moved by the story, and I like cried through the ballet in the second act, and I can't wait to bring my friend. I'm bringing my friend back. I told her that we have to go see it again. So, yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah, that ballet is amazing.
Yeah. The show overall is just stunning, and the music and the acting and everything is just stunning. So the final question is, would you drink from the spring? Personally.
I would not. I think, it's interesting because we were doing a question and answer last night after the show with a bunch of moms, and there were a lot of kids in the group, and someone asked that same question, one of the little girls.
Yeah.
To be about, 8 or 9.
Oh my God.
And before I answered it, I said, would you drink it? And she nodded her head yes. She thought it was the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
And I said I wouldn't. And I really think, and this is not completely universally true, but I think it depends what point of your life you're at. When you're a kid, when you're a teenager, when you're a young adult, you feel like it's exciting to be able to do everything in the world and never have to worry about dying. But I'm 53 and I'm kind of getting tired and slowing down. I don't know how much longer I can last. So the idea of lasting forever just sounds exhausting to me. So I would say no.
Well, yeah, I do believe it depends, because I'm going to be 24, and I don't think I would drink from the spring either, because life has to go on. And if I was younger, I probably would have said yes, because then you get to do everything like you were saying.
Right.
But, yeah.
And I think you don't realize the impact of it as much when you're younger.
Yeah.
But there are people who, like Claudia Scheer, who wrote the book for Tuck, for the musical. She always says, when people ask her, she was like, we used to get this question a lot during the previews and stuff, and she says, oh yeah, I would guzzle it. She just loves the idea of living forever, and she's my age, so it's not totally age related, but I think that's a factor. Yes,
absolutely. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. This will be up on the website, and I'll post the link to Twitter and all the social media sites, and I hope you have a great rest of your show.
Thank you so much.
No
nice
problem. You as well. I can't wait to come back to talk.
Okay, great.
You have a good night.
You have a good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.